Oh. Here we are. Let's see. Hello, hello. All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Welcome, welcome to the Arkio live event. We're going to be talking about 1.7. We're about to just kick off. Let's make sure we got everything sounding nice and clean. So if you guys don't mind, just let me know in the comments. Just give me a sense of whether or not things sounded good or... Yeah, perfect. But we have a great little event in store for you today. So thank you very much for everyone joining, and we'll get right into it in 1 second. So let's bring our full crew up today. All right. Cool. There we are. All right. So let's get going. All right, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Great to see some people in the chat. All right, my name is David. I'm the community content lead here at Arkio, and I'm excited to bring to you a fun little live stream where we're going to be talking about 1.7 and a bunch of other things that we've been cooking on for the new release within Arkio. And we have a great agenda here set up. So thank you all for joining in, and we're got a lot of great stuff to touch on. So for today, we're going to go through a couple of things. So here's our agenda for the day. We're going to start with the state of Arkio, where our CEO Hilmar is going to give us a high-level view of what's been going on and what's our roadmap here. And then our head of product, Johan, is going to give us a in-depth detail of walkthrough of everything that's been cooked up in 1.7 and a sick live demo that we're going to showcase some of these new features and give you a better sense of why and how these features work. And then we also have some exciting community news to bring to you. We've been bringing together more people, and it's just great to see everyone come together. And of course, at the end, we have a live Q&A. So as you guys are going through please make sure to throw any comments into the comment section. We'll be reading them through. And we'll have some special things to announce throughout the event. So without further ado, I think we can go right into it. So I'm going to skip to the next slide and welcome our CEO, Hilmar, to the stage. So alrighty. Hey, Hilmar, look at you.
Hey, David.
Hello, hello.
Okay, let's get into it. So great to see how many of you could join us here today. We have a lot of exciting things to share with you and to talk about. So let's dive right in. So at Arkio, our mission is to create the spatial design tool of tomorrow. We want to empower people to design and collaborate and connect across multiple realities in a way. Now, this may sound somewhat kind of far-looking as it talks about tomorrow. But what I'm finding increasingly is that the future is basically already here right now. With devices like the Meta Quest 3, with amazing mixed reality capabilities, spatial awareness, dynamic room mapping, world anchors, wide field of view compared to devices like the HoloLens, gesture recognition for your hands, being fully standalone, and basically at $500. The future is here right now, and with Arkio and the Meta Quest 3, you can do some pretty amazing things. And often when you show people what's already possible with Arkio on the Meta Quest, people are surprised because they think something like this was almost like science fiction. But the fact of the matter is that people are already using Arkio for a lot of interesting use cases throughout the design and build process. Be it for collaborative design, brainstorming together with other people, coming up with new design options, design reviews, whether they're virtual design reviews or taking place on site, where you overlay a 3D model on top of reality, and some pretty amazing client presentations. So it's always great to hear of these different kind of use cases and success stories. We would love to hear more from you about how you're using Arkio also in the field. So please, reach out to us if you have some interesting kind of use cases that maybe you want to, highlight with us. One of the key tenets of Arkio is how we use mixed reality. Now, mixed reality in Arkio is an amazing capability. It allows you to visualize 3D models in context on top of the real world. It allows you to collaborate more easily with other people when you're in the same physical space with them. And then you can, basically modify reality. You can design a new building on top of a construction site, for example. So this is, practically, mind-blowing what's possible already today. One of our team members was in Italy recently, and he actually did an interesting kind of experiment. So Dace Campbell, who recently joined us, he took this 3D model of a Roman theater and overlaid it on top of the actual ruins of the theater, and was able to walk around in mixed reality, as if the theater was already there. So just an example of how you can use Arkio not only to design new buildings, you can also use it to bring, old buildings or ruins back to life even. Now, with Arkio, we really want to help people, make better design decisions faster. It's super intuitive to sketch in 3D when you are immersed in Arkio. We have this kind of bi-directional workflow going with Revit, Rhino, SketchUp, and so on, where you can bring in 3D models from these design tools, modify them, and overlay on top of them in Arkio, and then ship everything back to the design tool to continue the work there. And we have built a solid modeling kernel to make all of this possible. It's optimized for architecture, for buildings, for AEC workflows, and it is basically completely unique out there. Now, we also integrate closely with AEC design workflows, with our large model support, which we'll talk about more, during this talk. Native plugins for Revit, Rhino, SketchUp, Unity, and support for Autodesk Construction Cloud and BIM 360. Now, just what have we been doing since last time? We did a bit of a state of Arkio when we released 1.6 back in October. And since then, we've been hard at work on 1.7. It's a big release. Most of our releases tend to be pretty big releases. We pack a lot into them, and we can't wait to share with you all of those details. We also raised a bit of VC funding, which will help us to accelerate our growth even further. And there have also been some major industry news since we last spoke. So the Apple Vision Pro is now out. People can freely buy it. That's pretty big news. And then recently, almost as big, was the news that Meta is basically opening up its Quest operating system to other device manufacturers. So that means that you're going to see a lot of new devices in the market running the Quest OS essentially, and we're absolutely thrilled, about that direction at Meta. Now, looking forward, we do plan to release version 2.0 in the fall. And as a part of that, just to give you a heads up, there will be some pricing changes. We have not changed the pricing of Arkio since we first went live, like 3 years ago almost. And we wanted to kind of keep it the same while we're kind of working out some of the main kinks like in the system. But with everything that you can do in Arkio today, we feel it's justified and time to basically make some adjustments. And we'll announce those pricing changes as we get closer to the release of 2.0. But as a special thank you for joining us here today, we actually want to give all of you a special offer, like a 20% discount of annual plans for the month of May, if you use this code on the slide, annual24. We really appreciate you being here with us today and being part of this journey. And we're super excited to see, what you'll do with Arkio on your end. Now, also excited to announce that, we keep growing. Alex joined us as a senior software engineer recently, Embla as our UX designer, and Dace is helping us out on the customer success front. So the team keeps growing, and also happy to announce that we had a birth in the Arkio family a week ago. One of our developers actually had a new baby, Sophia. So we're growing in all directions, basically. But since I mentioned the Vision Pro, we wanted to give you a tiny sneak preview of something we've been up to. So the Vision Pro is an amazing device, and we've been working on porting Arkio to the device. So this is just a sneak preview of Arkio running fully native on the Vision Pro with multiplayer support and with support for essentially all of our tools and all of our gestures. Now, this isn't fully production ready yet. We're still working out a few details. But our plan is in the next month or two to release a kind of limited beta of Arkio on the Vision Pro. And when the time comes, we'll be sure to let you all know. We'll send out an email and see who wants to join the beta to give us a bit of feedback on Arkio on the device. The Vision Pro is in many ways a great standalone device. You know, the resolution, the screen is just excellent. It almost feels like you're looking at Arkio in like a tethered PCVR headset when you're in the Vision Pro. But obviously, it is a very expensive device. So we still expect most people to elect to use the Quest 3 at a very different price point for what they want to do with Arkio. But it's been a lot of fun to experiment with some of the capabilities of the Vision Pro, and we can't wait to share with you more news, you know, when we are ready. So that being said, I think that's all on my end, right, David?
All right, let's see. Next slide. Yep. Thank you very much, Ilmar. I'm excited to see what people think about the new ABP support. So, well, coming soon, right? Awesome. All right, I'm gonna let you go so you can go nice and relax. All right, now everyone, here's all the good juicy parts that we're gonna dive right into. So with me, I'm going to be hosting a little bit of our back and forth, so Johan can have a little breaks to switch between headsets and streaming. But we're gonna go through the 1.7 details and talk a little bit about the key features of why we're doing this. So just to go through a little high level view of this, realistically, what we've been focusing on is looking at some core components of Arkio within, our model workflows, how things connect in and out of, our typical design software, along with how we support mixed reality and making sure our spatial modeling tools stay up to date and help push people further, past the keyboard and mouse typical ways of modeling. So I think what we'll do is we'll jump right into talking about a little bit of the first part here, which is our model workflows. And full disclosure, I totally forgot that StreamYard doesn't support live videos from Google Slides. So I've got some of them queued up right here. So it's going to be a little touch and go at times. But so we're going to first talk about model workflows before we just stream right in. And with model workflows, we're really looking at how we can make sure that your process of importing something into Arkio and utilizing it is simplified and an easy process for all and any devices. So let's take a little look at this. Which one was it? Here we go. So from the start, one of the things we wanted to do was simplify the steps you needed to take to get into Arkio. So we've made this process of being able to pull something in very simple. And that is a key thing because when you're working with Arkio, you have multiple different layers of modeling software. Your design software helps us achieve key things within with certain toolkits. And with Arkio, we want to make sure that we work well with all of this. So we've updated a lot of our ways of bringing models in to simplify it so you can bring in not only just one model, but multiple large models. And we've also made it so the importing process is as easy as a single click from the export plugins that we support. And one thing that's very helpful in this place, that is our big highlight for this year or for this release, is our high level of detail or our large model support. And our large model support talks a lot about how exactly we handle all of these big, huge models in Arkio. So let's just go back to here. Oh, well, And we'll get into a little bit more of the details, like how you can work with the Revit families and things like that. So actually, before we go into the large models, we're going to swing right over to Johan. So Johan, do you want to share?
Yep.
All right, let's bring
Happy
you up
to
here.
give
Here,
a bit more insight on this. Like it's very exciting. Like the plugins for us have always been important. They are a way to get data from the tools that people are already using into all the devices that Arkio supports. So what we've been adding with 1.7 is a more streamlined workflow to get your models into Arkio. And the workflow is still the same. Like you have a way to export your models locally or via cloud. The differences that we added to the exporting itself is that it now also supports exporting of families. You can import families in a different way, and we're able to support also Revit 2024 or 2025, and we're soon also releasing a minor update which supports SketchUp 2024. So we're just following the latest the design releases as they come along, and we're making it easier to bring those models into software. When you're clicking export now, it will process the model faster than before. It will directly start the Arkio client, and from there you can already get an update in the by the panel basically automatically opening. You can place the models in the scene. If we think about this from a model that is already loaded in, let me just get one of these models. So here we have an example of a model where there's the Revit model that we just saw already loaded in the scene. Now we have the ability to directly place the new asset, the family that was exported in the scene as well. And as you see, there's also a couple of changes that we did to the import panel itself. Like the preview of the models is a bit larger, so you can see better what you're importing. And we simplified the way how you import things. So you just have, if you want to have something movable or pinned at the origin, pinned, we will talk about a bit later as well, the new pin tool that we introduced. And if you want to place this asset in a current scene or in a new scene. So no longer two buttons, we just have options basically that you decide on which makes more sense. Now I'm going to quickly switch over to my headset while David maybe takes a quick look at the HLOS already while I'm doing that.
For sure. Happy to. But all right, so let's jump back over. So another key detail that is we're just excited to bring forward is our large model support. And as you all know, architectural models can easily become huge chunky beast, and it is very difficult for us to, or very difficult in general, to work through a lot of these details when there's so much there. And with Arkio, we've designed Arkio to work across or to be supported for MetaQuest devices, which is pretty much a mobile phone. And in a way, we need to make sure that how we handle these type of models is optimized. So not only do you can experience this from your PC, but on a mobile headset as well. So our large model support here is helping us create a solution that bridges together the ability for us to render these models in real time on mobile devices. So you don't have to be tethered to a PC in order to collaborate and work with each other. So to give a little bit more sense of that, we can look at this. And you can see we're bringing multiple large models into a single scene. We're able to kind of move throughout a single space, and everything is dynamically updating to show a certain amount of meshes. And I'm not going to go through and try to explain this because I think it's best explained by the professionals. But it's almost just like looking at Google Maps when you zoom in and all the tiles refresh at certain resolutions. So let me swing it over to Johan.
Perfect. So hopefully you guys can see my screen by now.
All good.
Yeah, good. Mm-hmm. So here we are in the VR mixed reality version of Arkio with that Revit model loaded. So to load something in the scene, we'll just go through the steps again. The menu is pretty much the same. I can make something movable that will place something as a movable object. The object that we see in the distance, the Revit building, we put that one in place with the origin point. And we do that to show later the bidirectional flow back into Revit. Now, I modeled a couple of things over here, which are actually my environment. And we're going to do that into more depth later. But first, I wanted to just talk a bit about that large model support. And we're seeing it already a bit when we're getting closer to this model and further away. Like we see that the model basically decimates. I'm going to a scene which is a bit larger. That's showing this a bit better. So we just put this one. So with version 1.7, we've added support for double the size of the models that can be loaded, and sometimes even quadrupled the amount of triangles that we can show in a scene. And important to note about this is that these can be models from all sorts of software. Like like right now we are having 4 models in this scene, which like some of them come from Revit. One of them actually came via Navisworks to Revit. This one is from SketchUp. You can have your photo geometry models. We'll talk about that as well. But these models are by default heavy. They are loaded on the device which you first load them on, and as like a streamable resource. Or streamable, I have to say this correctly. It's a resource that will dynamically adjust based on the device that you're using to watch it on. So right now I'm using a Meta Quest 3. It has limited processing power. So when I'm in this really large scale right now, I'm showing very little actual triangles, just to prevent the headset from shuddering. And I think you all might have seen, if you text the device like a Meta Quest 3 too much, it gets really uncomfortable and you get sick. So it's really important to keep that frame rate high, that we dynamically crunch the numbers down. Now, when I get closer to that model, new geometry starts popping in. And this is all happening dynamically per basically device capability. And when we're getting all the way up close here, in like a 1-to-1 human scale, I'm getting the maximum detail for this scene. So if I jump right into this building over here, we can see a bit better some of the nice details of this interior staircase, some of these ceilings. So this allows me to load really large models on a mobile headset like the Meta Quest 3, and still get some of the quality that we already had in Arkio, like dynamic shadows and some other things to that help you when you're exploring these designs. So when I'm going through this, and I'm seeing the geometry of the ceiling decimate and get closer, this will all update based on where I'm standing. And the technology that we're using to enable this, it's called a hierarchical level of detail. Sorry for my English, but to explain this a bit, it's using we have the original source of that 3D model, and based on your distance to the objects and the amount of budget that your device has, we show more or less geometry. And we also have something going on, which we included in 1.7, which is occlusion, dynamic occlusion of geometry. I'll talk a bit more about that later. Now, if you see when I'm jumping around this scene really fast, like this is a Navisworks model, it's pretty heavy. This one, I think, was like 6 million polygons. And if I go all the way to here, to that SketchUp building, this one is also pretty heavy, but it allows you to load really a lot of files into a scene, and it doesn't matter which device you end up collaborating with, it will show that model. It will just show maybe a bit more crunched down version of that model, just to cope with it. Now, to explain this in a bit more depth, I will quickly switch to the PC. And while I'm doing that, I will just talk a bit about some of the techniques also that we're using under the hood. Like the models that we are loading in Arkio, they're actually they're available offline. They are stored on the device. We're not a cloud streaming provider. We're loading these models in their original source on the device and rendering based on the device capabilities. So if we're doing something really complex, like put a model and AR on a mobile phone on a table, we adjust the budgets accordingly and show them the models in the best quality possible for that particular device that you're using. And yeah, we were seeing 20 million polygons on an iPhone in AR, which is pretty fun to to explore with. So we do have like an iPhone version. We have an Android version of Arkio. It supports iPads. Based on the device that you're using, you get a different number of triangles that can be visible in the scene. Now, thing to explain about the occlusion and how that works. This actually shows, this little explanation shows when you're looking at geometry that is close to you, we want to see those triangles, but if you're looking away to something else, we can actually hide those triangles so they don't have to render. So this is a technique that's used a lot in games as well to support these open worlds where you can just keep on walking and it never has a loading screen. Typically, to make these like the models that we use in the AOC to compile with that as a game, it requires a lot of steps and a lot of time to prepare your models. But we're doing this in Arkio dynamically. So when you're going into that model that came from Revit, it dynamically occludes the geometry that you cannot see anyway, and just focuses on the triangles that actually are close to you that you want to see. And this is a bit of a technical thing, but just wanted to make you understand what we're doing here under the hood to make those large models possible. And yeah, I think that's the main thing for what we would want to talk about for the Agelets.
Yeah, I think this would be a good point to swing over to the other pieces here. So that is, there's more information to come on that, and we're excited because we're really fine tuning this process, so it's going to render and be even more performant as we go. And so the next part that we want to touch on is our mixed reality support. And with mixed reality, we've really been focusing on how exactly you can collaborate in VR in our app. So with mixed reality, basically we've been focusing on a key feature called co-location, which really starts to tie together how people share spaces in a physical location together while you're in a virtual space. So for instance, when you are looking at a single, like when you are paired up with each other, I'm going to try to fast forward this really quick. You will immediately be able to see your avatars align in space. So that way you don't have to worry about trying to have people align your avatars to each other. So this gives you a more dynamic way of staying synced throughout your meeting. So with that, let's jump over and see Johan to give this a little bit more of a demo.
Yes, well, I'm still trying to prepare my scene. Hopefully you guys are seeing what I'm seeing again now. So I have a little setup prepared here where I have my PC in an Arkio session. I actually have my Quest over there. Well, let's just close that one. And I'm going to join this one with my main Quest that is streaming. So I can explain a bit more in depth what is happening here. So when I'm working in Arkio on a large scale, that model can be seen as a physical model, an object that you just want to place on a physical surface like a table. And often it is like in this context, it's really great to have multiple people together seeing the model from their perspective. Right now, we had this co-location function already in 1.6, but it was a bit hidden. It happened automatically. And sometimes if there were mismatches, it was hard to see what was actually happening. Now, we introduced a new UI in our meeting panel over here that shows which people are currently co-located. So I'm currently co-located with my Quest 3 headset over there that is on my little stand. And I can control as like my person, I can control who is the host and who then is co-located or not. When I'm co-located with a device, it will automatically align the person to where they are. And we're doing this using the, like we basically rewritten our co-location code. So if you have used it from 1.6, it works like quite differently now. And it has a much better rate of successfully finding the other person's headset anchors if you have anchor sharing turned on your headset. but also you can see better what is going on because of the multi-user UI showing this. So when I'm co-located with people, I'm able to gather them, basically. Always they will see that model in the same position. But if I jump inside, basically, I just jump to the VR human scale, I will also gather these people. I will actually talk a bit about that later if I have an auto gather feature on. Like if I don't have that, if I just put that model here and I gather people like this, it forces a gather operation that puts the model aligned there. So you just put that model out of the lock position and lock it here, so it's a bit easier. So there's a couple of things we want to chat about here. The co-location feature itself, it is a big change. Like we have been focusing a lot on it because Arkio is a collaborative design tool, and you want to work together on your models from multiple headsets and multiple devices, like the PC user that is also part of this. If to control this, we have added some UI in the meeting panel, but also extra UI changes on the wristband itself. So depending on what you are in a meeting, currently I'm a host in a meeting, you get different buttons in your wristband that allows you to control how meetings are co-located, how your model is aligned to the physical world. Anytime I want to jump into the model, if I use my teleport tool and I jump in, I'm currently by myself. I jumped in this model by myself. I don't have the auto gather feature on, but I can gather people to me. If I do that, the person that is co-located with me will be automatically aligned to their position there. If a person is not co-located, like this PC user, they will use the normal gathering operation. And the gathering operation has now extra settings in meeting settings. You can find that here, where you can choose to gather people by default on the front or on the back of you. So if I now gather someone, it will gather the PC user to the front of me. So if you're giving tours all around your building, you can gather people depending on what you're looking at, or if you want to directly have a meeting, you can gather them to the front. The auto gather feature is a new feature for 1.7 that enables the host, when they're teleporting around and they're just basically touring wherever they want to go, if they stop for a minute, they will automatically put the co-located people aligned and the other people that are not co-located as well aligned. And this is very powerful for doing these two guided tours, like working around with different people in the same time. There's other tools on the wristband as well. We have the ability to see like your meeting panel and if you're muted or not, and the gather and the lock position. Now, talking a bit about locks, like when I jump back up to the large scale, I'm seeing there's actually a lock already in my scene here and a lock there, which I can jump into. These, maybe some of you have experienced these already. These are human scale locked positions. I aligned my virtual world to my physical space here in this apartment. If I go to I have to put on my headset. My little stand over here helping me. If I jump into this little apartment that I have over here, and by the way, just for everyone to know, if you're locked, you can always get out of the lock by just teleporting somewhere again, or by using the grip buttons a bit more aggressively. If you do that, it will start putting it in alignment mode. You basically damped a bit, so you can still control. If you make it a bit more wild, you can fully go out of that damping mode as well. So if I get a bit closer here and look inside of this little house, this is actually my previously saved anchor position there, my lock in my apartment. If I jump into that apartment with my basically teleport tool, it will now, if I have in the meeting, it will gather everyone to me. Let me just lock myself back in there, become the host. The quest 2 is co-located. And if I go up and into this meeting, it will gather the Quest user with me. So we're having this live tour on my apartment right over here. That's a bit of the high level changes of co-location.
This is great. Honestly, that apartment with that daylight, excellent. Excellent.
Yes.
Woof, look at that. So natural, so nice. But all right, let's swing over. Let's keep this party going, because now we have an exciting new feature, which for all the creators and Arkio builders out there, I think you guys are going to be very excited for these new updates here. So basically within 1.7, we've also been working on refining how spatial modeling works, from how you create and layer and do things like that, to improving and optimizing how all of our tools currently work. So we're very excited to kind of see how this is going. And just to give a little bit more of a view, here we are, because videos don't play in StreamYard. Our favorite, one of the big highlights, which is going to be a big hit for everyone, is the pin tool. This now allows you to snap things into place and giving you a really clean, modeling experience. So you're not deleting and editing things by accident. And there's also a range of different upgrades that we've done to improve how snapping and how grouping works, just to make your user experience while you're modeling that much cleaner. And this is only the start. We have plenty of more things that are going to be coming this year within each version, but we're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on with these new spatial modeling tools. So Johan, I'm going to swing it over to you if you're ready.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
So yeah, so the modeling features, there's some quite a few quality of life improvements that we added to Arkio. One of the ones that you will probably notice if you're moving objects right now in the new version of Arkio, we show a little bounding box, and also the gluing of shapes. It's working smoother. Like before, it was like bashing around a bit, the geometry, when it was having difficulty in finding its correct anchor point. Right now, this is easier to do that. There's also other quality of life improvements, like the laser that we smoothed out, the teleport that we smoothed out, and to use features like the edit tool to find the corners. Like generally, the experience of modeling in Arkio should feel more comfortable if you play around with it a bit more. So one of the things where you would notice this change mostly is the new updated main menu. We simplified the tooling a bit, moved some of the tools around that you might have been familiar with, and we introduced the new pinning tool on the UI. The pinning tool is a mode that is comparable to how the move tool basically works to select the hierarchy of an object. You can use the pin tool also to fully pin down a hierarchy of objects. So if you are in the pinning tool, everything that gets an orange gauge, it's pinned. It means that it cannot be accidentally, let me just go to another tool, like edit it. Like it cannot be accidentally moved or edited. Like if I use my move operation, I see a little pin that this object is pinned. But anytime I want to unpin the object, you just go to the pin tool, select the hierarchy of objects you don't want to have pinned, and then it shows no longer the orange highlight, and you know that you can move that object like a normal object again. Now, there's a couple of tips we can go into depth there, but let's just see if we have some time at the end to talk about that as a pinning tool. The grouping tool got some enhancements. Before it was like when you're making a bounding box around objects, it needed to be exactly really precise about the objects. Now we're much more forgiving, and it directly shrinks down the crop region of the group. So it makes it easier to do grouping operations of objects. And just quick tip, grouping works with like a cage you make around it. And if you click on it again, it dissolves the group. We have for some of the quality of life improvements, I will just dive into my little apartment over here. I'm going to be walking around a bit because I've modeled some fun stuff around here to show. Right now we have I have this chair. Actually, it's a LiDAR scan that I scanned earlier today. LiDAR scans are actually really great in Arkio. You can bring in all sorts of scans to start moving things that are in your physical world into the virtual world, and then start blending the real and the virtual world. If I have, for example, something modeled in Arkio, like this outline of this couch, I can also export that to Revit. I will show that a bit later, how that looks. And when these outlines are in Revit, in the families, you can actually have a really great underlay for making Revit families. So this is a Revit family that got exported. Remember, like at the start, we exported this guy. This basically is aligning directly with my real couch because I outlined the real dimensions of my couch in mixed reality. When I'm using laser operations, like for example, this cabin, like this opening of the wall, those are now a lot smoother because of the modeling updates that we did. And this helps also to start blending and mixing realities. We made some improvements on the safety mode when you're walking around in Arkio. We no longer have the boundary. We have boundaryless. We're a boundaryless app. If you're moving around now, it's smoother. It works better, and you can still see what you're doing. So because anytime you stop, it goes to virtual reality. When you start moving, it will blend the virtual and the real stuff together. And then, like last but not least, we added a couple of improvements to our onboarding. So we have in the starting menu, we have a couple of new sample scenes, and David is going to chat a bit more about those as well, because some of these sample scenes are made by some of our Arkio users, and they are really great for showing and seeing what is possible with Arkio's tool as it is today, and also how people have been using Arkio's modeling techniques or like the way Arkio works to organize their model. So we just highly recommend people to just go check out these sample models and see how people have been making Arkio creations, because a lot is already possible with the Arkio modeling tools that are in today. I think that's mostly it, David. I'm probably forgetting a couple of things, but we can chat about it in questions.
All right, man. I think you're tackling a lot here. So
yes.
I think because we're running a little short on time, classic, you know, like, but we're gonna jump right into some of the done with the demo. So we're going to go through some of the community news and talk a little bit about what exactly, you know, we've been doing on the community side, and just jump right into the Q&A right after this. So thank you so much, Johan, for the amazing little demo here. And guys, don't forget, if you have any questions, throw it in the chat. So one thing with our community is that we've done a big move from moving our typical, where we've been using our community in Discord to Discourse. So now we've put together a new site that you can go and join at community.arkio.is. We'll put that in the chat for everyone. But this is now our new site where we're able to be engaging with everyone a little bit more, and we'll be announcing some new challenges and things like that coming forward. So we hope that everyone joins in, and we're going to be really pushing a lot more activity in this space. And big shout out to everyone that's been a part of the community already. It's great to see how much activity has already happened within like a couple of weeks of the site being up. And another community announcement is that we are in the running for being vote for the best creator and authoring tool for AWE's Auggie Awards. So we would love your support. It would mean the world to us if you're able to log in and cast a vote for us and any other software, other categories that you're interested in. Got to support everyone, but we would love your support because it would mean a lot for us to push Arkio even further and get our community even louder and get our app being used across multiple places. So we'll put that again in the chat. We're really excited about this opportunity here. And the last but not least, we have a new design challenge coming in. Oh no, I forgot the video. Okay, just imagine some really awesome video playing right here. But basically with this new design challenge, this is going to be focused on mixed reality and how you can start to use mixed reality to create a new type of intervention within an exterior of a building. So we're going to be focusing this time around for the month of May to have your submissions be some sort of design intervention on the exterior of a building, whether it's a large home or a small home to a large building. You're going to have multiple opportunities to challenge this. So, and if you're looking to be a part of the competition, definitely jump into the community, and we'll be announcing more information in the coming day or so. So, and that is everything from the community side. And we're just got more excitement, more things coming up. So we touched on everything here. And then we'll actually do a little bit of a Q&A now, and maybe also bring up some of the questions, maybe touch on some of the community site if we missed anything. So I'm going to bring the guys back to the stage. Oh, wait, actually we'll do this, and then we'll here, and then shebang, Q&A time. All right. Woo, went through it. All righty. So, all right, first question. No question.
That's a lot to go through in a record amount of time. Well done, Jan. That's a big demo.
Yeah.
It's funny to see you like watch the camera as you like kind of like meander over to the side. So, but yeah, this is great. So, but we'll leave this open for a couple minutes. If there's no questions, we of course want to drop all the links, and we'll push everything to you guys. But we'll stay here and just have a little group discussion going. So let me get these links for everyone.
So we have one question ready, David.
All right, let's see. All right, let's show this one. Shebang. How do you feel about direct link to Polycam or Scaniverse? All right, which one of you guys, Johan or Hilmar?
Yeah, well, I think it's like our approach so far is trying to be as open as possible to as many formats and softwares as possible. By supporting the GLB and OBJ format, we feel we're pretty good already with like the exports that come from Polycam and Scaniverse. There's like, if you've been with us for longer than a year, there's also a time that we had an iOS direct integration, like that got basically replaced by the cloud version of Arkio, allowing you to upload any kind of model from any kind of device. But we do have plans to make that better with some integrations with other tools as well. Like, we can't wait to talk a bit more about it.
It's also interesting to think about what the devices themselves will be able to do, like when you have devices with full spatial mapping and so on. It's it will be possible to bring in some of those kind of measures and scans directly on the headset itself instead of using like a device like a phone.
Yeah.
And we already see kind of the beginnings of that with what's possible on the Quest and on the Vision Pro. So that's exciting for sure as well.
Alrighty, and I think we got another question from someone I know named David Hunt. Good name. All right, so can you import models from Revit LT? All right, Johan, I think you got another question here, bud.
Yes, so in a way you can, but unfortunately you cannot use the plugins with Revit LT. Like Revit LT doesn't allow you to extend Revit. Like they want to limit you to what you can do. So you would have to find a way to get your models out of Revit. I think by default Revit LT supports still FBX exports and potentially OBJ export. If it supports OBJ exports, you don't need to do much because those can be loaded to Arkio directly. If you need other ways to basically get your model out of there, you might need other Autodesk products like AutoCAD or maybe like an open source tool like Blender to convert that FBX to a more open format like OBJ or GLB. Then like once you have the more open formats, those can be imported to Arkio using Arkio Cloud or locally on the device.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the whole piece of being able to tie different modeling software together is very critical. And a lot of people ask us questions about the lifespan of like how you update models within Arkio and bring it back into a different program. And it's really quite unique to have this type of like relationship. So it's great that people are starting to pick at that a little bit more. So.
It's also really exciting to be able to offer the kind of the bi-directional support we have. Yeah. So both importing from tools like Revit, Rhino, SketchUp, and exporting to the tools. That's not very common. And one of the big things we want to do with 1.7 is to streamline that entire workflow, as kind of Johan showed. So you can really go from like Revit with a single click to automatically opening Arkio on your PC and placing your model. And if you want, like jump directly into a meeting and share it with other people wherever they are.
Yeah, I still have like on my screen, we can still show it, David, if you guys are interested. Like the scene that I just worked on in Arkio, loaded back into Revit, like to just show how good the quality is of the data you get back into Revit. Because it is, like Ilmar said, it's really unique because Revit is by default a bit of a closed software, but we're able to bring models in from like that are made in Arkio. So for example, that little house that I just modeled here for my apartment, but even things that are not native from like Arkio, things that got imported into Arkio, like this LiDAR scan, they still get converted to a Revit family. So you can use Arkio to bridge all sorts of design tools and put all your geometry in a scene. And anytime you have the plugins and you bring the geometry back, you're working with actual Revit families in your Revit project again. And Revit geometry, native geometry that you modeled with Arkio shapes.
Super nice. All right, we got another question that I think is going to be. Oh, well, look at that! Blocks our face. This is one for you, Hilmar. So, is it possible to disable physical controls and use built-in hand gestures instead? We saw this with availability on Apple Vision Pro. So, does Meta offer it?
So the answer is yes. We have had support for hand tracking on the Quest for a while, probably for about 2+ years now, and it's been a bit of an experimental support, but now with the work we're doing on the Vision Pro and on the Quest, we are basically kind of updating this capability to make it even better, more intuitive, more accurate. But if you want to try this on your Quest, you can simply put on your controllers and look at your hands, and Arkio will switch to hand tracking mode. Or you can hold the controllers and kind of bump them together like this, and it's going to go into hand tracking mode. So it's pretty impressive that the device can do this hand tracking. The accuracy is always getting better and better. So we're super excited about hands as input, going forward.
All right, good question. All right, another one. Would it be possible to import only a box section of a large model directly from ACC? All right, Johan.
Yes, like if you're using the ACC plugin, the BIM 360 plugin, there's some updates coming to that one soon. By the way, just a little tip of this, maybe. But as long as you have a view in your name called or view in your model called Arkio, we'll use that view as the default exporting view for Arkio. So just naming any kind of view just with Arkio in the front, that would pick it. Like if you have multiple views, we'd just pick the first one that we can find. On views, this is also a little fun fact, like any view that you make in Arkio, like with a camera, you save a view, those will also come into Rhino and Revit as cameras. So you can actually, you can pick some points that you want to render from, and you can get those cameras into your design tools as well.
Super good. All right, let's keep clicking away. All right, another blocker. But with the increased compatibility, this one's from So with this increased compatibility with large model, is there a possibility for viewing and creating complicated material textures from onto the models? Interested to hear more about viewing materiality. Oof, that's a good one.
Should I take it again?
Yeah.
So right now we have like we support bringing in custom textures. Like the materials themselves are still a bit simple in Arkio, also for the reason of like performance. Like we want to have as many devices as possible supported, so we mostly focus on the albedo, the texture with the UV maps. The materials that you have from other design tools that get brought into Arkio, they should all come in correctly, but it's currently not possible to make your own materials yet. We are experimenting and looking into what we can do to give like more materiality than our default materials, but you are currently limited mostly to importing your own models if you want something really custom in terms of materials.
One thing I would suggest, though, is for these type of features, we're always looking for this type of interaction and trying to pull this type of feedback from you. So we definitely welcome this type of conversation on the community site, and we have a little category there for you to submit these type of requests. So, all right, we got another one here from Carolyn. Will it be possible to edit imported models? Oof. All right, get Hari in here. All right, like this is
like the short answer is not yet, but like we have ambitions to bring that further. Right now, the models from Revit, Rhino, SketchUp, they come in as one object that you move around. There's some first steps that we're basically doing with these added support for individual Revit family exports. We want to get to that point where families, like for example the car or the person that or the bench that was made in Revit, that those elements can also be tagged and be brought into Arkio as movable objects that can be updated back. And if you want to see this working, I can recommend using the Arkio Unity plugin, because we already have a fully bidirectional update cycle for individual components there. So that's a little peek on the horizon of what's possible.
It also brings up the question of like how, like, where exactly do you want your edits to be coming? And like, even though things are bidirectional, sometimes people, like with a linked model, you sometimes don't want to give people the ability to edit and change things. So
Yes.
it's very interesting workflow wise.
To add to that also, it's like what David said, like we love to have that conversation on our community forums, because this is not the first time that we've been hearing this, but also like our vision of Arkio has been like starting with like Arkio as a tracing paper, basically getting your existing models in there, adding new design suggestions, like for example this extension that you want to blocked out in Arkio, or maybe you added a sketch or you put like a component. All those objects they will come into your new or your existing design, and then from there you can decide to update the floor in the original model, because it gets a bit tricky when you start updating geometry that is also coordinated in BIM and has maybe some liability and stuff. So we want to also be a bit careful there and just give you the additional adding geometry workflow first, so at least you can get something back into Revit before we start moving everything around without the user's consent.
All right, we got a couple more questions that we're going to try to answer in 1 minute. Okay. We're going to go, I think we got a quick one here from Carolyn again. Is it planned in the future to have different lighting design assets, spotlights, stage lights?
It's an interesting one.
Yes.
Yeah, so lighting is a topic of frequent conversation on Arkio, and our CTO is obsessed with real-time lighting. Like the shorter answer is, like on these devices, like the Quest, they have limited capabilities to be, taxing on the device. But obviously, it would be possible to have something like that on more powerful devices like PCs. So I think the answer right now is this is something we are very interested in, and we hope to make advances on this in the future, but not in the very near term, at least.
All right, and last but not least, we got a long one here from Twin Deal. have been asking about using Arkio for mixed reality tours for galleries and churches. They're asking to embed links to historical photos. So it sounds like they want a QR code that scans and brings up a model. I'm kind of curious because I don't know if they do, if Meta allows you to access the image detection from their cameras, but yeah, kind of interesting.
So on the a short answer is no, they don't allow it. So and also Apple is a bit careful about that. So it does require the headset manufacturers to add some APIs and open things up a bit first before we can start adding that kind of functionality in Arkio as well.
Yeah.
But there are ways, like if you want to do mixed reality tours, like in an actual church, for example, you can like embed images, for example, 3D models of artifacts, whatever.
Yeah.
So you can do many things already, but we don't have any kind of dynamic links to open up other images or models at the moment. Yeah. But this example that David just brought up from Italy, when Dace was kind of putting this 3D model of the Roman theater like on top of the real world, it is amazing to be able to do this and to relive what it was like to walk through this theater back when it was, still standing.
Yeah. It's crazy because I think when he was explaining the bit of the project to me, he's like, you don't really understand the mass in these photos. And I think that's always a big challenge when you are experiencing something immersively and then trying to share it with people on 2D formats. It's this constant communication piece, but he was saying this is like a 3-story tall stadium, and the tour of this was excellent. So I think there's definitely some solutions that we can do for workarounds. And again, I would definitely push people to join the community site where we are always kind of thinking about different workflows and ways to help achieve these type of things. So, and I think that wraps up all of our questions, and it hits us a little bit past the hour. So I want to thank everyone. Johan and Hilmar, do you have any last words?
The only thing for me is it's just great to see so many people like join us here today.
Yeah.
Like, we believe this is a big release, but we are, as we've said, I think many times, we're just getting started. So like, stay tuned, more to come.
Woo! All right, Johan.
No, just I think Elmer said the best. Like we have a lot in store for this year, and we can't wait to share you more in the next updates.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. Thank you very much for joining, and make sure you hang on to that promo code to get yourself a 20% discount on annual licenses, and hope to see you in the community. Thank you so much for joining.
Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.